Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cinder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Christine Neuhauser with the Pearl Chase Society. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you.
Gosh, the Pearl Chase Society. I have a feeling you're going to tell me a lot of stuff I don't know, because I've always been fascinated by the work, but I don't quite know all the work. So I'm hoping you're going to tell us all about the Pearl Chase Society.
Okay. All right. So Pearl Chase Society. Pearl Chase Society is inspired by the work of Pearl Chase, who was a woman that was born in 1888 in Santa Barbara. And she did so many things that we enjoy today. She was part of the rebuild after the earthquake. She was just a very big advocate for the beauty of Santa Barbara. And that was her goal. She went to UC Berkeley. And when she came back, she was like, hey, the town is dusty and messy. And she watched the San Francisco get rebuilt so quickly after the earthquake in San Francisco that she said, hey, we can do this here. And so she also had the luxury of her family supporting her. So she didn't have a day job. After she had a short stint as a teacher. But anyway, so that's what she did. And it was a much smaller, uncomplicated world compared to today. And so that's how the group was inspired, was so many of the things that, for instance, Pearl Chase did. Some of the things that Pearl Chase did is, I like to, she said that the buildings in Santa Barbara should be no larger than the trees that surround it. So I thought, wow, that's a great thing. Except, of course, unless somebody says, well, let's bring in some 60-foot eucalyptus, and there we go. It's easy. But at any rate, so the Pearl Chase Society was inspired by Pearl Chase. And how the Pearl Chase Society got started was during a renovation of the Santa Barbara Museum of Art on State Street. There were a couple of capitals, top of columns, that were going to be demolished. There were also two buildings that were next to the Museum of Art that were buildings that were from before the earthquake. And so they were going to be demolished also. So it's just a small group of citizens that said, hey, that's wrong. We shouldn't do that. That shouldn't happen. Yeah. So they got together and they started their group, and then they eventually named themselves Pearl Chase. But they did save those capitals, and they also saved the building that is now the gift shop. So the museum gift shop, and the capitals are on the top. Yeah. And so that was really how the impetus to get started. So.
Wow. That's how I had no idea. I didn't know that. Right. So tell us what the Pearl Chase Society does today. What are your main activities? Okay,
our main activities. Well, I think most people would know Pearl Chase Society from the historic house tours that they would do. Yes. And they did that for years, and that was their main fundraiser, because you have to have money to actually have, any traction, right? Yeah. And so that was their main focus. Well, that was their main fundraiser. And they started that in about 1982.
Okay.
And they, I think it was very popular, and they raised quite a bit of money. And then during COVID, they were shut down. They were doing their 18th annual tour and house tour. And then when COVID happened in 2020, they were shut down for that. Yeah. And so we are trying to resurrect that now, but it's a little bit harder now because people are so shut down in a certain respect. They really are. Right. And guarded, and I don't blame them. But on the other hand, we did a virtual tour, and it's just not the same thing. Yeah. It's just not the same thing. You don't have you don't have the camaraderie of people standing in line and going and appreciating a theme, because the house tours always have kind of a theme and a neighborhood. So anyway, so that is has been their biggest fundraiser. Now we're doing a Calum DeForce speaker series, because if you're having trouble preserving things, which if you look around Santa Barbara, it's a bit, it's hard. And so you have to at least educate people. So let's educate people to say, hey, preservation matters, history matters. If you don't, then it'll be gone, and you'll say, wow, what happened? It looks just like Los Angeles. So anyway, we are having a lecture series that we did last year, and you can go on our website. We have a great website, Pearl Chase Society website, where you can get all kind of information from that. You can get events, you can get calendar of dates. And then what else? What else do we do? Well, we do some advocacy.
I was
is
just
what
going to ask
Pearl
about
Chase.
the
We do
advocacy. That's
advocacy.
interesting.
So we, with the fundraising, the money that we get, well, people will come to Pearl Chase and say, can you help me? Can you help me either with advice, or can you help me with how do I do this? Or can you give me some money for something that I want to help preserve? You know, we're trying to figure this out.
Give me an example.
Okay, so here's a list of things that they have done or that kind of recent. The Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation came to Pearl Chase and asked for money to help them restore a portion of the Knox House, which is on Santa Barbara Street, Cannon Bernardino and Santa Barbara, a small little white house. It's kind of part of that whole historic, you know, Jimmy's Oriental and the chapel across the street. And so we gave them money for that. And part of also why I think people want money from other organizations is so that they can go to other organizations and say, look, these people think it's important. It is important. Don't you think it's important? Would you give us some money and help us preserve it?
Yeah.
So let's see, we gave money to the city for when they redid 1118 East Cabrillo Boulevard, the Cabrillo Pavilion. And so we gave them money to memorialize Pearl Chase's name, because they were offering people to pay to name rooms in there, much like stadiums do today.
Sure.
And so let's see, what else do we give money to? The I'm probably saying this wrong. The Stegosaurus walls, those walls that are on Mission Canyon, right on Puesta del Sol, you know, by the museum. Let's see what else. The Doug Partial murals from 1932 that are inside of the Santa Barbara Junior High, which is a very historic building. And so, I mean, that's, I think, one of the 3 most historic buildings in town. I'm sure someone will probably disagree with me, but the courthouse, the Mission, and then that was built as a work program. And so you had all these talented craftsmen that were working on that because people needed a job. So the junior high is really a beautiful building. What else have we spent money on? The main Beggs farmhouse, which is in Goleta. So they came to us and said, hey, can you give us some money? We're trying to restore this and make this be, you know, a lot of people they'll make it an educational center. So that's what they're doing. That's on Hollister, kind of by Magnolia Shopping Center. I'm probably wrong on the cross street, but anyway, so we gave money to them for that. Let's see, who else have we given money to? If we don't have money, we will give advice. You know, some people have come to us and we said, we just don't have the money for how much you need for that, you know, proposal. And so we'll see if we can help you. Here's where you should go to help make that happen and look for some other money. Oh,
so you'll help, you'll give them advice on, okay, here's the project we want to do. How much do you think it's going to cost, and who should we go to build it,
or to get a grant,
or to get a grant?
Okay. How can you go and get funding to do what you're doing, and what is the order of what you should do something? We gave money to restore the Santa Barbara courthouse. You know, the fountain in the front.
The fountain,
the beautiful lady. So we gave money for that. What else can I think
you
of
guys
that
are
we
busy.
Gave money to.
Always preservation.
Definitely, always preservation, because beautiful things, no matter what, just like anybody's house, they have to be restored. They have to be maintained.
Yes.
You know, deferred maintenance is what ruins things. Franceschi House. So how did I go there? Well, Franceschi House is one of the things that the Pearl Chase that's been a push and pull, you know, with the city, because Franceschi House is something that's in the forefront right now, and it looks like the house is not going to be saved, but there should be some kind of memorial for what was there and what the whole idea was. So Franceschi House. What else can I think of that we gave money to?
Boy, it'd be great if that Franceschi House had to have been amazing in its time, huh?
Well, there are a lot of amazing places here in Santa Barbara.
True.
Seriously, there are a lot of amazing places.
I wonder if other places, like, I don't know, LA or San Francisco or any other place, has something like the Pearl Chase Society that focuses on preservation.
I think it's very normal. Almost every city does that. The thing about Pearl Chase, compared to probably a lot of other organizations, because we have the Trust for Historic Preservation, you have the Historic Museum, you have a lot of different groups that have their niche in what they're trying to do. But for instance, we are completely nonprofit, all volunteer, organization. And so
Okay.
that's why, funding is so important for us. That's why a fundraiser, or like we're doing, our Callum DeForest lecture series. You got to have money to have some clout, right? To make people, and you have to have money to help people. So, that's what we need. We need donations. We need members. We need, infusion of young blood.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the financial donations and the volunteers, the members that you would like more of. So a person can go on your website, and I bet there's a donate now button.
Absolutely.
So they can make a tax deductible financial donation to your good work.
Yes.
While they're there, they can also find out about how to join. What does it cost to join? What are requirements for joining? How do you become a member?
Right.
What do you need help in volunteering for?
Right. And how can and we want you to get involved because we want you to participate, because it's strength in numbers. I mean, it's safety in numbers, it's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
You have to be heard by a group of people. Otherwise, we need more Davids in this David and Goliath world, and that's what we're looking for. When you talked about other places have preservation groups, like for instance, I'm from New Orleans, and New Orleans has tons of, they're very strong on their civic pride and also on their preservation. And of course, they've got a lot of history to do that. They do house tours where, like I said, we're having trouble with the house tour resurrecting it, although we're working on it. And if anyone wants to, or has a neighborhood, or thinks, hey, I have a place that this would be great for walkable, mostly house tour. But in New Orleans, for instance, these people beg to be on their house tours. I mean, they'll redo a house, they'll have it, and they're just so proud of everything. They say, how can I get on your house tour? So, another city that has a lot of civic pride is the city of Redlands. I went there kind of in the last couple of years, and it is just so beautiful. Very similar to Santa Barbara in that it's from, well, not that way, but it's from about the 1850s, and they have historical areas that are just preserved beautifully, and they still have streets going down their main street. I think it's even called State Street. They have parking on their street. Their shops are full. They're smaller, but their shops are full, and they will preserve the Victorians and even a bit of the orange groves, that will be next to them. So I don't know if I should be making a plug for the city of Redlands, but it's absolutely beautiful, and it's down in San Bernardino. So
wow, so here you folks are doing all this important work that I bet a lot of people don't even know about, and yet they appreciate it, but they don't know about the Pearl Chase Society or what you do.
I think actually a lot of people know about the Pearl Chase Society. I don't know if they know as many things that Pearl Chase has been responsible for helping, assisting, save things.
Right.
But for instance, you do hear Pearl Chase get quoted often at Architectural Board of Review or Historic Landmarks Committee or Planning Commission, where citizens will say, well, I wonder what Pearl Chase would think about this. And so we need more people to be making quotations and standing up in the same way that Pearl Chase did, because she really believed in advocacy, but she believed in people cooperating, communicating, and coordinating efforts together. Because if you coordinate your efforts, you get more traction.
Yeah. So this book that you brought is called A String of Pearls, Pearl Chase of Santa Barbara by Sherry Ray. I bet that would be a really interesting book.
It's really a wonderful book. Sherry Ray is our editor for the Pearl Chase, but she is a writer. She's a local writer. And so she did much research actually during COVID, and she wrote this book, and it's just a wonderful book. I mean, this would be a really good book for any person to give, for anybody to read, but also for someone to give. I don't mean to be like this, I'm not sexist at all, but to give a young girl, there's a lot of good advice in this.
Oh, I see.
Yes, and I'm not a feminist, and I don't know if she would have considered herself that, but I am an equalist. And there is a lot in here that's just like you go, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to take a picture of that and send that to somebody because, so at any rate,
I'm going to get that
really
book.
Great. Yeah, you should get it. It's really a good book.
Now, you folks, let's see, you also do some education?
Well, that's what we... yes. I mean, well, that's part of our Callum DeForest series. Is what we are doing is we are, like we said, we have a speaker series. So we have people come in and they talk about different aspects of. One of them was about Callum DeForest himself. Another one was about David Gebhardt, who was another important person, an architect who also worked for the city. And so he ended up getting, I don't know if he worked for the city, but he was on the ABR. And so he might have been on HLC. But so they named the David Gebhardt building, for him over at Public Works. But and then someone else came having to do with just different architecture. I think it was Doug Woods. And then, and so what we're trying to do is just get the message out and try to get people that, people come to Santa Barbara and then they stay in Santa Barbara because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it has been easy to drive around, not quite so much with all the street closures.
Yes,
lanes being decreased, et cetera. So we'll see how that morphs out. But people make mistakes, and then they can just change those mistakes. Meaning we can open up those roadways again someday.
Yeah, yep.
But so the deal is if you can't preserve everything, and there's so much going on in the city right now, we're trying to alert people to things that do happen. So we send out notices to our membership. We try to get people to attend meetings, to go to City Hall. You can watch everything on television now, so and be timely. But so we try to get people to advocate that, look, this is going on in your neighborhood. For instance, we have so many boards and commissions that are really important for, that are tied to the city that have made Santa Barbara what it is, which is, for instance, the Single Family Design Review Board, the Architectural Board of Review, Planning Commission, and the Historic Landmarks Commission. And so we're trying to engage people to be engaged in keeping the city the reason that we're here.
That's really important.
Here. So
I think that's really important. Good for you that you're doing that, because that's what it takes.
Yeah.
It takes more people who care and are willing to get involved.
Yeah, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Because everybody's busy. Everyone is busy. Everyone's distracted. There's so many opportunities to do so many things, and they're right on the, in the palm of your hand on that phone. And so,
right.
You know what I mean? Everyone's distracted.
You're right about that.
Everyone's distracted.
I can totally get that. So busy. And we need to preserve this. Let's talk about why it's important to preserve it. Yeah, Well, I'll be back after a bit because I got an important meeting, and
right.
No, I can totally see that. So part of it's helping people understand why it's so important right now, today, right this minute.
And just show up and say, hey, I agree or disagree, even if that's all you can do. Look at what's going on with our town. Look at State Street. Look at De La Guerra Plaza.
Yes.
Look at all the road closures. Look at all the building for the housing. We have huge changes that are coming right before our very eyes. And,
yes, we do. We are in the middle of it.
Yeah, so at any rate.
Okay, Christine, we have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about Pearl Chase Society?
Well, I encourage people to go to the website because there's so much information there, much more than I could ever divulge. And if people would participate in your world, in the world that you live in. And so we're just hoping people will come, that they'll engage with our, like I said, we are a nonprofit, all volunteer group. We could really use help. And so, because there are, like I said, numbers, you need numbers, and we need people that care.
Yeah.
We want people that care.
Our city is so
beautiful.
Beautiful.
So
and
beautiful.
We need to do our part
beautiful.
To keep it that way.
Yeah. Seriously, I don't know if I said this, but when you tell somebody that you live in Santa Barbara, people just, I don't usually do that because I feel like it's name dropping, but people just totally go, Santa Barbara. And they say it with awe and with reverence. And you're like, it's so beautiful. She's like, it is.
And it's our job to keep it that way.
With a lot of hard work by a lot of people.
And thank you to the Pearl Chase Society for making that possible.
Well,
and thank you for coming to tell the story and for all of your good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.